Here in the second half of 2019, we've seen Daniil Medvedev come along and play amazing tennis. And he's got an amazing forehand, but it is definitely a unique style. And what we're going to do in the lesson today is we're going to identify the principles, the key elements to having a professional forehand, and really separate style from principles and teach you the principles that you need to use to develop your forehand into a professional quality weapon. The first thing you really want to notice about Daniil Medvedev's forehand is how he prepares to play the shot. And just like every other professional player, he uses his non-dominant hand to create a unit turn. So when you watch the video, you will see that Daniil has both hands on the racket, and his first move, both hands move together to get his rotation and get him into his turn. And this is really essential to building power and having a connected forehand that is well coordinated and can deliver a big movement on the ball. So even though he has an unusual style, his first move is very much like all the other players on the tour. So use that left hand to get you turned. And the key to that is having your left hand involved in the ready position. So when you're in ready position, make sure that your non-dominant hand is the dominant hand holding the racket, and your playing hand is just resting on the handle. So automatically, when the ball comes to your forehand, your non-dominant hand will take you into your preparation. And that way, you never have to really think about turning your shoulders, because your left hand, in my case, being a right-hander, will create a shoulder turn without me ever having to think about it. So the key element is to have your left hand or your non-dominant hand involved in the ready position and allow it to make your first move. So once Daniil makes his turn and prepares to play the forehand, his left hand will come off the racket, and it really goes the same place everyone else's goes. It stretches out parallel to the baseline and holds him in his turn. And this is critical to setting up the shot and having great balance and lining the ball up to play. And this is also where Daniil's own style comes into play, because once he releases the racket, he has a pretty high preparation, and this is unique to him, okay? But the left hand is definitely showing balance and definitely lining up the ball and holding him in his turn. So we definitely want to get that left hand to do that as well, okay? The next thing we see Daniil Medvedev do on his forehand, just like every other player, is that the left hand for him, being the non-dominant hand, actually triggers the swing by pulling away in a semicircle and clearing the body to bring the racket to contact. So the non-dominant hand is a big part of creating the rotation of the body and putting that energy into the swing. And then the left hand holds the balance as he swings through the shot. So the left hand, his left hand is very active in his forehand. It really is organizing his forehand, more or less framing it, taking it to the beginning, showing the middle, and then clearing so he can play through the shot. So make sure that you're using your non-dominant hand as much as you can on the forehand, just like Daniil. So the key thing that Daniil does, virtually like every other professional player, is the key thing is what he does through the hitting zone. Everything he does from the release to dropping and coming into the hitting zone is his style. And then once he gets into the hitting zone, he does exactly the same thing that every other player does. And that is that he is transferring his rotational energy into a shoulder drive. And it is his shoulder that is driving or leading the racket into contact so that he's got excellent power driving through the shot. He's not coming to the ball with a snap or a hinge at the elbow or a snap at the wrist. He's rotating and driving through. So through this critical hitting zone, the movement is almost identical to every other player, how he hits through the ball. Once he hits through the ball and he gets out to his natural extension, his style takes over again. And this is what we tend to see a lot of, is the finish and how unusual it is. Because once he gets here, he's got a lot of racketed speed, and he just literally lets it come wrapping around his neck, which is pretty unusual in the modern game. We don't see too many players finishing their forehand like this. So it looks a little odd, looks a little different style. But remember, the key element is what he does through the hitting zone. And once he gets past the extension, it is just simply Daniil being Daniil in his own style. So the takeaway from this lesson today is to be able to differentiate style from principles and really focus on developing the key principles, the foundational elements to your forehand that will build a professional quality stroke. Should you worry about style? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I wouldn't try to emulate the style of other players. You are going to be an individual. And if you develop the fundamental principles, your style will just flow naturally. So I would really focus on those key elements. And then today we focused on what the non-dominant hand does and how the stroke plays through the hitting zone. And once you take a closer look at these, you can see that Daniil Medvedev's forehand, even though it starts differently and it finishes differently, is not that much different than every other professional forehand on the tour. If you would like to learn more about how to develop the forehand, I've got a free guide to the 5 key principles to developing a professional quality forehand. And all you got to do is click down below, get that free guide, and that's going to get you on track to developing the key elements to developing your forehand into a professional modern forehand. Please subscribe to our channel if you have not done so already. Give us a like. We welcome you to make comments below. And be sure to click to get your free guide to developing your forehand into a professional quality weapon. Stay tuned for more lessons here from Performance Plus.